Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's your boy, Trainer Greg McBride, aka Mr. More Than Muscle, the Dad Bod Destroyer, and welcome to another episode of the More Than Muscle podcast. I titled today's episode, You Stressed? We're going to talk about stress. People often will ask, are you stressed? And when people ask questions like, are you stressed? There's always, or more often than not, a negative connotation, a little snarkiness in the way it's said. What I hope, my goal is by the end of this episode to shift your thought on stress. And not only that, but give you more productive ways to think about stress, at least in certain circumstances. And when it's concluded, if I've done my job, and I will, you will feel grateful for the stress that's in your life. I know, right? Welcome. Get your pens and pads out. Get ready to take some notes. It's going to be good. So this first section, as we get into it, I call this kneecaps, wine, and forest fires. I want to start off with a little story. As a new dad, when my son was born, over the moon, super happy, super excited. I don't know. It was like definitely one of the top 3 experiences in my life, if not the top. It was amazing. I loved the feeling. I was so excited. I couldn't wait for him to be here. So when he was born, through the roof. But like most parents, as you get going, there's so much that you don't know. I'll just say that. There's so much I didn't know. I had to learn. I just remember holding him for the first time, this little bitty guy in my arms, and I'm like, it's my boy, you know? But as we get out, we're getting ready to go home. After a couple days in the hospital, they say, okay, you guys are free. Let's go. We're heading to the car. We're loading them up. I'm trying to figure out the car seat, get them all together, place this little tiny human being in this car seat that just seems entirely too big for him. And as I'm doing this, I look up, and I don't know if I said this out loud to Alexis, but I know I was thinking it. How are they letting us leave with this human life when I'm still trying to get my life together, and I'm responsible for him in every way? So again, there's just a lot you don't know, and you learn along the way. A child's body, an infant's body, is not anywhere near what an adult, even a toddler's body is like. For instance, the skull has multiple bones that haven't even fused together yet. So you got these little bitty plates that are all together or around, and sooner or later fuse together. I know they got a little soft spot in the top of the head. Like it or not, you used to always, touch it, play with it. Because I mean, hey, because I could. It was just different, and you're learning these things. But one of the things that I knew, but it was just weird to see and feel and experience, is that babies don't have kneecaps. Babies do not have kneecaps. It's like they're just got these two little, I would say they're not walking around yet, so it's not of uber importance. And I think that's just the way things are. That is the way nature designed it. So as these babies get out and crawl around on their hands and their pseudo knees, they're getting the stress of just banging their kneecaps, pounding on these hard surfaces. So those tendons that are holding that tibia and that femur together, the stress of hitting, it starts to calcify and builds these calluses, and it just hardens and hardens and hardens, and then it forms the patella. So even seen in an infant's life, the stress that it endures, the stress that a baby goes through, helps it to develop kneecaps, y'all. Kneecaps are a product of stressors, a product of building on stress. I would love to see what would happen if someone never crawled. Do they still develop kneecaps? How does that go about? Is there some just natural thing that happens in our body where it starts to still harden? Maybe the legs moving around. I don't know. But from my knowledge, you don't go through the stress, you don't develop kneecaps. So don't live your life kneecapless. Go through the stress. We'll give you some more examples. I am not a wine connoisseur. I love to think that I am. I enjoy drinking, and I always will. Yes, there's times when I'll cut it out completely, but I enjoy drinking. So if I want to drink, I'm going to drink. And my wife and I did this for a brief moment where we'd have these like little wine dates. I go and pick out like a handful of wines. We would pretend like we're doing this big wine tasting, checking out the color, the first appearance, the smell, the different notes that we can pick up of these different flavors and the aftertaste. I had a whole list of things put together. We were just taking it and going through it. It was a good time. So as we're going through this, I'm thinking, wine has the same thing. It starts out as these beautiful grapes that are grown out, and you leave them out there, they'll turn to raisins, whatever. But you take those grapes, smash them up, boil them, ferment them, add your spices and whatever. And through that process, that's a stress. I don't want to be ground, smashed, boiled, whatever. But the stress they put on those grapes produces something better. In my opinion, something better. I love wine. So those grapes produce those wines by going through the stress, the process that's necessary to create that. And even further, more in nature, this is one that I really love: fire. Forest fires can get out of control. If you're living out on the West Coast, you know about it. Forest fires are a thing, but sometimes they're controlled. Farmers use fires to help with farming, and it has a positive effect as well in nature. So how does fire help a forest? So one, it helps promote one major factor that I really like. And it's that the deeper the roots of a tree, the better they survive when that fire comes. So the trees that grow deep roots quickly are able to, as they burn down, sprout up faster and come back. So that gets carried on, like I said, to the next generation. Also, in a forest, there's just things growing everywhere. So what fires do is it kind of burns down some of that extra crowded vegetation. So when some of the smaller things get burned out of the way, other ones can thrive and grow and become more. So you have burning down the crowded vegetation. You have promoting deeper roots. But when the ashes and everything burn down, that enriches the soil. So you got the ashes enriching the soil, helping things grow. You have clearing out of the bad things or the extra things so it can continue to get better, and then growing quickly. All these things happen. That is how fire, wine, and kneecaps show what stress can do in life, in the world. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is someone that I know. Let's say this person's name is Tammy. Story time. Tammy is a killer businesswoman. She has her own company, dabbles in a few different markets, but this is how stress helped her. So, as the story goes, she was working in her company. Everything's been going great. Continually getting new clientele, continually growing, and just knocking every opportunity out of the park. Every new project, every new client loved what she brought to the table to their companies. So when you get in that kind of flow, it's easy to get comfortable. She was comfortable. Things were going great. Nothing bothering her. Just kept plugging away and doing what she was doing. As it would happen, she decided, hey, since I'm doing so well, let me try and branch out to this other market. Let me do something a little different. And that's where things started to kind of shift. It wasn't that branching out into a new market in and of itself was bad. That's probably a great thing. Add a little bit more on the table, a little bit of stress, great. But what happened at the same time is, as this influx of new clientele, new business, new opportunities was coming in, some things started to fall through the crack. Some of the workforce wasn't able to keep up with the new business. So things were missed. So much to the point where it was time for a change. People had to be let go. So as Tammy had to kind of weed through some of this, she was getting more business, a reduced workforce. At the same time, she was expanding into a different market. That's a lot of stressors. If you haven't had an experience like that, that's a lot. That's a lot on the table, especially when you know you're the point person for all of this. But Tammy is a strong-minded, strong-willed person, and she didn't just say, "Oh, get overwhelmed." She saw the positive. It gave her an opportunity to do a few things. One of those things was with the quick growth. She had to develop better systems to make sure things didn't fall through the crack. So her systems became stronger. Her workflow for her and her employees became better. They were able to take the intake better and work through the new projects and the existing projects, and it just helped the business grow there. Having a new market to reach out to also, again, worked with the financial side of things, having better understanding of what's coming in, what's going out, so you can manage funds better to allocate them properly. So the stress of that, she had to find new people to rely on to step in and help with the new workload that was coming in. So finding more qualified people to delegate these tasks to. So not only was the workforce improved, not only was systems improved, but also financial side of things. So all of this happened because of stress that was put on. Now, could that have happened without the stress? Possibly, but I guarantee you it wouldn't have happened at that rate. So stress and the way you think about stress allows you to grow and develop. No matter what, it's going to take you to a point, if you can get your mind wrapped around it the right way, where you're going to produce something better or be better yourself. Now, I said by the end of this, you're going to be grateful for stress. So let's talk about that. Now, I was kind of misleading. When I say grateful for stress, I want you to be grateful, because not only is that great for your mental health, but it also helps reduce the stress, the feeling of stress. Now, I'm going to take a non-conventional first step into being grateful. One of the best ways to really be grateful is remembering the bad. Now, when I say remember the bad, I want you to not just think about the bad, but understand that if you can remember something that happened that was bad, or bad situations, bad errors of your life, you've gotten through it. You've moved beyond it. So not only are you remembering that there was a tough time or a bad experience, but that you were able to get through it, knowing that you've gotten through it at one point lets you know that you've developed skills in your little tool belt that are going to help you get through the next thing that comes up. So you think about those bad moments, think about you got through it, and know that when new things come up, you can get through them again. And mind your tongue, your words, words, so powerful. Not just other people's words. Your words are the most powerful, not in other people's lives, but in your own lives. Be kind to yourself. I get sick of hearing clients say things negative about themselves. I don't always lash out and correct right away, but man, it hurts me because I know that it's hurting them. The things you say become your reality, your truth. So don't say, well, I'll give myself as an example. I know I struggle with procrastinating when things start to really pile up, when I feel like I have a lot to do. I struggle with procrastination, as in I might step away from the things I need to do and just say, let me relax for a minute. I'll do this and I'll get back to it. But just listen to how I said that. I struggle with procrastination. I didn't say I'm a procrastinator. I didn't say I'm lazy. I don't own those feelings. I don't own that state of mind. I'm not lazy. I may have struggled with being lazy, but the fact that I can use those words properly, that I struggle with it, means there's opportunity to get better, and I'm working on getting better. Don't own it. You're not lazy. You're not slow. You're not fat. You're not this person who can't get their life together. You are in a moment. You're in the transit. You're moving towards something. So make sure you use your words properly when you're talking to others and when you're talking to yourself, more importantly. Mind your tongue. So the last thing, here's a phrase: I solemnly swear. Now that's heavy, but you have to make a promise. You have to make oaths. And this is one of those things you can put in any area of your life. When you make a promise to yourself, it puts a standard for you to reach for. And when you have that, it helps you achieve it, basically, because you don't want to break a promise to yourself. So make the promise to yourself to be grateful. I'm going to intentionally be grateful. I might have to write down in a journal the things that I'm grateful for, the things that are going well. Again, remembering the bad, how I got through this, I can do it again. But you have to make that promise to yourself. And when you make that promise to yourself and you continually achieve that day after day, it builds confidence. And when you have that confidence, everything becomes easier. That's going to help you relieve that stress. We're talking about trying to relieve stress here with being grateful. So day after day, do what you say you're going to do, help reduce that stress. So remembering the bad, watch what you say, and make promises to keep. Make promises with the intention to keep them. That'll help reduce the stress. So, you stressed? That good stress, that EU stress, Are you stressed? As I said, stress is all out there in nature, in our lives. It's just a part of who we are, and it helps us grow. It helps us develop better habits, produce better things, and character. So remember the story. Remember that stress is good and be grateful for it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you again. Tune in. Thank you again for tuning in. Please, please, please like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Stress is not something that we should suffer with. Stress should be something that helps us grow and thrive. It's your boy, Trainer Greg McBride, aka Mr. More Than Muscle, the Dad Bod Destroyer. And as always, be more than muscle, y'all.